Okay, so the first thing I would like you to do is to open up Scratch, and you will see the moment you open Scratch on your laptop, hopefully you've been able to install it, you will see an environment that looks like this. We first start off by, this is the name of your project. You can rename this in a second, we'll rename that. And what we're going to first look at is just the different areas and what each area means. So what we have is, we've got an area here which is sort of an outline of the different characters you have in your game. At the moment, the default character that opens up, or as in Scratch is called sprites. Sprites are the characters within our game. And you will see that the default one is this cat. And we got some buttons here where we can rename the sprite, and I strongly recommend that you do that when you design your games. We can change the size of the sprite, so we can make it smaller, or we can make it bigger. The default setting is obviously 100. Okay. You can see direction. Direction means which direction is he facing. You can see this is the front of the cat. Obviously, if you've got objects like a house or like a line or a block, there's no front or back, but each sprite will have a direction which it's facing. At the moment, it's facing 90 degrees. If we change that, we can make it face that direction, or we can make it face 180 degrees downwards. Okay. We're going to make it face to the right again. Okay, we're not going to worry about these. This is the position where the sprite, well, let's look at it now. We can see that if we grab the sprite and we move it around, you can see that these X and Y positions change. And again, this is a sort of mathematical area. You've got an arbitrary grid here, like an X and Y axes. And if we go to the middle, we could probably make it 0 and 0, and that takes us to the middle of the screen. So this just gives an idea of where the cat is, or the sprite. Okay. Now, Scratch is basically a program which allows you to take a set of instructions and then to tell Scratch what to do with each one of these sprites. So, for example, we can say, I would like you to move the sprite 10 steps. And it will move it 10 steps forward. And if we say -10, it will move the sprite -10 backwards. Okay. If we change this number to, let's say, 15, you'll see that it moves faster. Or further, actually. But it gives the impression that it's moving faster. So basically, these are just a set of instructions. And what we're going to look at today is, first of all, the instructions that we are going to use today. I'm going to summarize them for you in a second. But what's very important is, in order for Scratch to interpret what you want your characters or your sprites to be doing, the instructions have to be correct. Okay. They also have to be in the correct order, which is very important. So things you want Scratch to do first should go at the top, and things you want it to do last should go at the bottom. Okay, so the instructions you're going to use today are the following. Now, if you look very carefully here at the side, we've got code. We're going to work with this mainly in today's lesson. We're not going to look at costumes or sounds at all. And you can see there's different sort of quite obvious sets of instructions. We've got motion. Motion means how you would like your character to move. Looks, what should it look like? Things it should be saying, like speech bubbles. You can include sound as well. We're not going to do sound for quite a while, but you can do sounds so that your characters can interact and say things or make particular sounds. With motion, we are always going to use move, and we are going to use point and direction. So we can use those two. Okay. We're also going to use control events. We're going to say when I click this. So this was important. It basically says when I click the green flag, and you see here's a green flag, which means start. This means stop or go and stop. Okay. And this is my gaming environment. So once I click that, my game will actually follow these instructions, and then I can interact with the game. Okay, so let's just take this out again, sorry. All right. The next one we're going to use is a control. Now, usually or quite often, our instructions are not just followed once, it's followed repeatedly. So we're going to take, today we're going to use this one which says forever, and basically it says whatever I put inside here, I want you to repeat it over and over and not have it stop. Okay, not just to do it once, but to do it repeatedly, as it says here, forever. Okay, and then finally, or not finally, we're going to use this one, which is the sensing. We can go here to sensing, and we're going to say key press. So remember, we're going to use arrow keys today to move our sprites. We can use up arrow, down arrow, right arrow, and left arrow. So we can use these ones. Okay. So basically, these are the main ones for using our mouse. When we, our keyboard, using our arrow keys. When we use our mouse, it's a lot easier. Okay, and we will use, not point to, we'll say go to. So again, this is our move instruction, and we'll basically say go to mouse pointer. So wherever I put the mouse pointer, the mouse will follow. The cat will follow. So wherever my mouse pointer is, the cat will follow the mouse pointer. So that's probably the easiest one to do. I'm just going to move this to the right. Okay. All right. If we want our object to move automatically, we can say we will use the move option again. Okay. We will use the forever one as well. So let's just duplicate that. And let's just put this one here. Okay, put this one here. But what's different about this one is when we have the sprite move automatically, what we want it to do is when it hits the sides, we want it to bounce. Okay, so if on edge, you can see these sort of slot together. If on edge bounce, so if on edge, when you make contact with the edge, I want you to bounce with doing, and it will just move left and right. Okay, obviously a little bit more complicated than that. We're going to add a few more things, but that's fun. This is just an introduction. So the idea is that what you do is you take these blocks and you slot them together like a jigsaw puzzle. Now we have to make sure that the positions of these blocks are in the correct order. For example, this is not the same as this. Okay, just a couple of things. If I want to delete something, so let's say for example this one's not needed, I just drag it and drop it over here. And if I want to bring it back, I can just drag it in. If I want to duplicate something, it's just duplicate here. Look very carefully. I can either duplicate all of this. Why, you can see this yellow highlight around it. Right click, duplicate. Okay, or I can just duplicate some of it. So for example, I just want to duplicate that. So I click that again, make sure that goes away, duplicate, and you can see I've got that. Okay. One of the most important things to be able to do when using Scratch and creating new games is the ability to make objects move, because obviously you need your characters within your game environment to be moving, whether it's being moved by the arrow keys on your keyboard, whether it's being moved by a mouse, or whether they're automatically moving around and engaging with each other and with the environments around them. So our focus today is obviously a sort of brief introduction of the Scratch environment in which you're working and the different sort of functions within it. But obviously we're going to look at how to take our characters within Scratch and making these characters move using our arrow keys, mouse, and making them move automatically. I'm going to start with the arrow keys. So the first thing we are going to do is look at our sprite. So our sprites are the objects or the characters within our games. We call them sprites. And the default sprite that opens up when you start Scratch is a cat. Now obviously we can change the size of the cat. You can see here it's set to 100%, and we can change it to make it smaller by making a smaller number, or we can make it bigger by making it bigger than 100. And we're going to set it to about 30, 35, 25, thereabouts. You see here at the top there's a green arrow and it's a red sort of block. Green means start and red means stop. Okay, so basically here's our very first instruction. We're going to say to Scratch, I want you to start following all these instructions the moment I click on the green flag. Okay, so what's the first instruction we want to do? We want to say, okay, if I press an arrow key, for example, if I press the left or the right, I want to move the sprite left or right. So we got here instruction that says if, and you can see it's got like a loop. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. The instructions sort of fit together. And we're going to say if key, and we see a number of options here. We've got arrow keys and we've got letters on the keyboard. And we're going to say, let's choose right. Okay, if the right arrow is pressed, here's what I would like you to do. And obviously what we want to do is we want the sprite to move. So we go to the move instructions and we can see, we're going to say move 10 steps. Now steps just means how far it needs to move, and basically how fast. 10 is sort of a good amount, 100 is too fast. And if you want it to move really slowly, you can press obviously really small numbers, decimal numbers. Okay, so we're going to leave it as 10. Just a reminder that if we put minus 10, you can see the cat is facing to the right. If we put minus 10, the cat will move back, but we want it to move forward, so put it to right. So now we say I could click start. And you can see I'm clicking my arrows and nothing is happening. I'm clicking the right arrow and nothing is happening. The reason for that is because the instruction is just being followed once. And that's not good enough. We want Scratch to repeatedly follow this instruction. You want it to basically loop, and we say, I want you to do this forever until there is no stop to it. Okay. And now, if I click start and I click the right arrow, you can see it moves to the right. Brilliantly. And I click stop. I'm just going to move my cat back to the middle of the screen. Okay. So, as you can see, what we've got here is we've got a set of instructions that says if right arrow. So we're going to duplicate this because we want it for the left arrow, because we want it to move left. Okay. Now you can probably guess what we're going to do is we're going to change where it says right arrow, we're going to choose left arrow, and instead of 10 we're going to say minus 10, just move backwards. Okay, we're going to click start. So move it to the right, move it to the left, move it to the right. Brilliant. Okay. Now, this will work fine if I just want my sprite to move left and right. But what we want to do is we want the sprite to move up and down as well. So these instructions are actually not going to work for what we are intending. So we are going to change the instructions a little bit. Not by much, but just a little bit. We're going to add something to it. And basically what we're going to say is we're going to say to Scratch, okay, if I click the right arrow, or the left, or the up, or the down, I want you to point in that direction first. Okay, so not turn. I've got turn there. We're going to say not turn. We're going to say point in the direction. Okay, and you've done maths, you know sort of compass directions. And 0 degrees is up, which is north. 90 degrees is right, and so on. Okay, we're just going to duplicate this. We're going to duplicate it twice because we're going to actually going to do 4 of them. No, we'll come back to it. Okay, so slot that in. You see it sort of fits in. And the first one we're going to change. We're going to leave the first one as it is, but the second one we're going to make not minus 180, we're going to make it minus 90 because that is towards the left. You can see the sort of arrow points there. And now if I click start, you can see it goes to the right the whole time, whether I place right or left. And the reason for that is, if you look very carefully, I've said minus 10. This one actually needs to be plus 10 because it needs to go forward in the direction which it's facing. So you can see now, if I press left or right, it goes towards the left, it goes towards the right. Now I know it's flipping around a little bit, so we're going to look later at how to fix that. Now what I want to do is, I want to bring in a new sprite. Okay, and we're going to choose an arrow. So just go to the top, type in arrow, choose the red arrow, and you can see now the instructions. There are no instructions for it in the screen on the left. Basically what I want is I want exactly the same instructions I have for the cat. So I don't have to repeat all that. I can just click at the top, drag it, hover it over the arrow and drop it. And now you can see it has exactly the same instructions. If I click start now, I can move it left and I can move it right, and you can see they move the same amount, same speed, because we've set it to move the same speed. Excellent. All right, so we're going to delete our cat, just on the top right, delete it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make our arrow move up and down. Now, if you look very carefully, we're just going to repeat all those instructions there and just change each one slightly. I'm just going to duplicate that, slot it in. So that's going to be my up arrow, and let's just zoom out a little bit. So that's going to be up. Okay, I'm going to duplicate that. Direction is upwards as 0 degrees. Okay, and now I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to slot another one in down there, but instead of 0 degrees, which is up, we're going to do 180 degrees, which is downwards. Okay, so let's test that quickly. Okay, click start. You can see I can move left, I can move right, move up, down. Okay, something's not working because I press up and down and nothing's happening. And the reason for that is because we've got two instructions that's saying up arrow, and each instruction is different. So Scratch is not sure what to do. So we've had to change that. So it doesn't say up arrow and up arrow, it actually says up arrow and down arrow. Now you can see I can move up, right, left, and down. Brilliant. Now it's at this stage where I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can repeat those instructions as well. You can obviously rewind it and so on. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is we're going to introduce a new sprite, and I would like you to scroll down and see if you can find the shark. And it should be alphabetical. Scroll all the way down. And the shark is there on the right hand side, which I've missed. Okay. You can see we can move our sprites around a little bit. Okay. Now, one thing that's not very good in Scratch is actually saving your work. We can't just go Control S. We've got to actually save a copy on our hard drive. So I'm going to say there, moving objects, and I'm going to put my name, and I would like you to do exactly the same, because I would like you to replicate this, and you're going to move your work for me today into Teams. Save it on your computer. It's up to you where you want to save it. I have an area where I want to save my work. Okay, so our second and third part to this video is getting our sprites to move either using the mouse or having them move automatically without sort of instructions from us. Now these two are quite easy, so if you struggled a little bit with the using the arrows, the next bit is actually a lot easier. So what first thing I'm going to do is I would like us to use a different sprite. So I'm going to delete the cat. I'm going to say choose a sprite, and I'm going to do the arrow. Actually, we're going to choose ball. Okay, and we're going to use football. It's a bit big, so I'm going to reduce the size, and we're going to make it about, let's say, 50. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this ball move automatically. Okay, and we're going to do another sprite, and let's take Avery. Maybe a batter. Let's take a batter. And we're going to reduce the size of this one as well. Maybe not too much. Okay, and what we're going to do is we are going to have a set of instructions for the ball so it moves around automatically, and it's going to bounce off the sides, and we are going to control our batter with the mouse. Okay, so let's start with the ball first, and you can see it's very, very important that the instructions actually match the sprite. So if we want the ball to move around automatically, we can't now give instructions here because we've selected the batter. I'm not going to change the name, so keep it soccer ball. If we maybe had more than one soccer ball, we call it soccer ball 1, soccer ball 2, and so on. And the batter, we're going to leave it as it is as well. So let's choose our soccer ball. Okay, so very similar to using the arrows, we're going to use events, and we're going to say when I click the green flag, I would like you to start. So control, we want this to continue. We don't want the ball just to move once and stop. We want it to move automatically forever. So we're going to say forever. Okay. Now, the move one that we're going to use are the following. The motion is we are going to use move. Okay. And we're going to say when you are on edge, we want you to bounce. Now, something I forgot to, something I'd like to do is actually, I would like this batter to be sort of hidden. So we're going to click on that. I'm going to say just hide the batter so we don't see the batter. We'll come back to her. Go back to the ball. Alright, so forever. We need to put this inside the loop because we want this to repeat over and over. If on edge, bounce. Okay. Alright, so if we click start, you'll see that it bounces. Okay, not too exciting because it just goes left and right, and we need to change that a little bit. Okay, so we're going to click stop, and so the best way to do this is for us actually to have the ball start in the middle. Okay, when it's in the middle, it needs to choose a direction to point in. Remember, the moment it's pointing, let's change that to 90. It's now pointing to the right. And if I click start, it's going to move to the right. So if I show you quickly, click start, it moves to the right and then left and then right. So click stop, and you see it says 90. So let's put this in the middle again. So I'm going to put it in the middle. Alright. So what I would like to do is I'm going to say to Scratch, okay, when I click start, I want you to put the ball in the middle. Okay, so we're going to say go to. And we only wanted to do it once. We don't want it to do it repeatedly. We just want to do it right at the beginning, and that's why we put it outside of the loop. And we're going to say the coordinates 0, 0. Okay, it's right in the middle. Once you've done that, I need you to point in direction. Now, if we do this, we can actually get Scratch to direct the ball in a certain direction. So if we click start now, it will go to left and right. Okay, let's click stop. If we change this, we change it to 0, which direction do you think it will go? That's correct, it will go up and then down. Up and down, up and down. Okay, stop. And if we say 45 degrees, it will now go 45-degree direction. Okay, and click stop. Now this is all fine. Happy with that. So this is sort of a first stage. This is quite an easy step, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to make it a little bit more complex. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to practice this actually first. Make sure you understand this before you move on to the next stage. Okay, so we're going to leave that just so that we can view what we've done. We're going to make this slightly different. I'm going to say duplicate. I just want to click stop here quickly. And what we're going to say this time is this stays as it is. We're going to say go to the middle. That's fine. But what we would like is we'd like to have some unpredictability within our instruction. Okay. So I want to say to Scratch, alright, what I want you to do is to point in a direction, but in a random direction. I don't want to know which direction you're pointing to. So we're going to go to operator, and we're going to say pick random, and once it's in there, we can choose a random direction between 0 and 360. Okay, and we're going to slot that in. I'm going to delete that because I think we're okay. Delete that, and now if I click start, initially it went that direction. Let's click stop. You can see now it's gone that direction. Stop, start. It's going straight down. We're going to look at a little bit in a minute. We're going to look at how to avoid this. Actually, that's not too bad. But what we don't want is we don't want it actually to choose 180 and 0, because then we'll just bounce up and down, or 90 and 270, because it will just do that. We want to avoid that. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to say pick random. Okay, that's fine. And we're going to say not 0. Okay. Duplicate that. I don't think it's going to help very much, but anyway, we're going to say here, pick random -2 -178. Okay, but what we have here, so basically what it's not going to choose 0 or 180, but what I haven't done is it can choose 270 and it can choose 90, so I can still do that, but at least we've removed this element. So if I click start, okay, and there we have it. All right, brilliant. So let's move on to getting the batsman to follow the ball around, or follow the mouse around. Okay, now we can see that the ball is hidden. Actually not hidden, the batsman's hidden, so we're going to hide the football, batsman, make her visible. Okay, so instructions, events. When arrow key is clicked, I want you to start. Control, we want to do this one forever. Okay, and then nice and simple, go to mouse pointer. Okay, now if I click start, you can see that she follows the mouse pointer. I click stop. Okay, let's put both in and click start.